Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Now, 10 years ago, the achievement of my next guest would have been something that just was impossible. But months, well, in fact, years of dedication, of focus and sacrifice bore fruit for the third time last Sunday. And here to talk about the highs and lows along the way to Sam Maguire's success, will you welcome, please, the All-Ireland winning manager, Michaela Harte, and his daughter, Michaela. We'll put Sam down gently. Congratulations, Mickey and Michaela. Congratulations to you, because I know you've been there every step of the way.
That's right.
Isn't Sam looking great?
He's looking very well tonight, very shiny. I think he got a bit of a clean-up for the
I think he got refurbished, didn't he, for the final. There's a story I heard today in the canteen in RT, one of my colleagues who was in Croke Park last Sunday, and he said that he wandered into the warming-up area at half-time. You were, trailing by a point at that stage?
Yep.
And there your guys were, charging at the tackling bags, and you had dressed those tackling bags in the Kerry colours. Is that true?
There's an element of truth in that, indeed, yeah. I do believe that the Kerry players had jerseys of ours down in Tralee as well in the week before the match, so there's nothing new in that. But that is true. The players who hadn't been playing, obviously, to stay ready for action, they used the half-time, at least a part of it, to get energised in case they're called upon. And one of them was actually Kevin Hughes was called upon, and he did have energy when it was needed.
But that was part of the psychological build-up, that they weren't just ordinary bags. They had to be in the Kerry colours for motivation.
Yeah, you had to bring it as real to life as you could, and there were our opponents on the day, and I mean, those bags had different jerseys on them during the year. There was Dub jersey on them too.
Don't talk to me about that particular occasion. That was painful.
Well.
Yeah. What's he like, Michaela, to be around in the run-up to a final?
Really just the same as he is all the time, to be honest. It's us, as I was saying before, that do a bit of the worrying. Daddy just, instead of watching videos for 5 hours per day, it goes up to about 10 hours per day. And if you want to get near the living room to watch TV, it's not an option, so it's just extra focus on what's happening. You see a little page lying around with different minutes of bits of action that he wants Pete Quinlivan, the video analyst, to get sorted out for him. It's just a lot more of the same, real focus and dedication.
Now, you're the only girl in the family.
I'm the only girl, yes.
And yet you are the most obsessed by the football, isn't that so?
Well, you know, that's true. I'm a big supporter, obviously, of Daddy and of the team. I'm certainly not what you would call a fair weather supporter, in that Daddy's been managing Tyrone team since 1991, in fact, and I have not missed a single championship game. So it's quite a good record. I was about 7 when he started managing the team, and 17 years on, I'm 24, and I still haven't missed one match.
Yeah.
So
now, your loyalty to your dad is absolutely commendable, I have to say that. However, in 2004, you were the Ulster Rose in the Rose of Tralee competition, isn't that so?
Yeah.
Mickey, if you didn't progress that year, but it could have been that the Rose of Tralee Festival would have coincided with the semi-final with Tyrone, you as manager. Which would you have gone to, the Rose of Tralee Festival or...
Be careful now.
This is going to be a serious problem for Michaela. She was the one that's going to have to tear herself away from Tralee or whatever. we were going to be... I would love to have been in Croke Park that year. Unfortunately, Mayo saw to it that it didn't become a problem, and Michaela's wishes were kept right again, in that we were knocked out and we didn't make the semi-final, and so we were all able to go to Tralee and support her in the competition.
But if push came to shove, Croke Park would have won.
I'm afraid so. I'm afraid so. It's always been the case.
It wins out over everything in your life, doesn't it?
It certainly does. I suppose Marion can testify to that as well.
Marion's in our audience there.
She felt that maybe when she got married to me, and I'll be playing football for a lot of years, and she knew that would be the case, that football would come first during those times, but I'm not sure she quite expected it to go on so long after I stopped playing.
All right, tell us, what did you do to celebrate your 30th wedding anniversary?
We haven't done anything yet.
That's the price of football,
It came on the 8th of July, and we decided to defer it until a more suitable time when there wouldn't be so much football on. So we're going away on the last week of October now, over to Spain. Good friend Damien Donegan has facilitated us with a nice villa over there, and the whole family's going for a week.
So we're looking forward to that.
We certainly will.
And the fact that you've got Sam, is Sam going as well? Hasn't got a visa, probably.
Wouldn't be allowed out of the country for that long. There's too many other places to go now. Cuthbert Donnelly's on the case again, and his bookings are flying in right away, so there'd be no way that cup would go out of the country for a week. Wouldn't happen.
Now, your preparation is meticulous, and I mentioned the psychological element. is it true again that when you are presenting your senior county players with their jersey, that it's almost like presenting them with a sacred object?
That is true.
Is that true?
It's total respect for the jersey, and people talk about respect for the jersey. The most respect you can have is for those who look after the jersey. And we're very fortunate to have a man, Mickey Moyna, who looks after all pieces of equipment like they were his own. And our players have grown up in that tradition to respect that jersey. So it's always folded neatly with the number out, and they pick it up that way. Yeah. And on days gone past, they would leave it back the same way. But nowadays, I suppose, players get to keep their jersey almost after every game. So it doesn't become an issue, but that's where the respect for the jersey begins, yeah.
Yeah. It's a sport, and it brings great joy to people, and of course disappointment when you don't win. But your career has been touched a number of times by tragedy. I mean, the loss of John Devine's father, for example, in the run-up to a game. I mean, how does that affect you? How does it affect the team? How does it affect everybody around?
Well, I suppose it goes back to 1997 when we lost Paul McGear as a young minor.
Yeah.
Tragically, he died after an accident on the field of play. And I suppose our players at that time got to experience something they maybe would not have expected to be in contact with so early in their life. But I think it made them stronger. It's made them more appreciative of life in general, more appreciative of families and the parents and all the rest. And unfortunately, it visited us again with the late Cormac in 2004. And as you say, this year, John Devine died just the day before the All-Ireland final. And there's a further one in that too. Even in that week up to it, Davy Harte, my own nephew, his great-grand-aunt, died as well. Colin McCullough's father-in-law died that same week. And indeed, before our first league game this year, as not many would remember, associate with, Fergal McCann, our trainer, his brother-in-law, a young lad, Darren McAnally, was killed in a car crash on St Bridget's Day. And indeed, he was buried in the same graveyard that John Devine's father was buried in just at the end of this season. So it's a rare thing, but our season began and ended with those kinds of tragedies
with some
of real
sadness.
life.
Michaela, do you remember when you heard the news about poor Cormac?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was in teaching practice in Glencull Primary School, so I was at home. I was a student at the time in Belfast, but I was at home for teaching practice. And I remember Daddy opening the bedroom door, and the way that it was opened, I knew that there was something wrong. It wasn't just time to get up. So I just jumped up and I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "Something really, really bad's happened." And he went on to explain, and just words can't express what we felt at that time.
Yeah. That sudden adult death syndrome, it seems to be more and more common. It's not something that I recall from when I was that age. You know, none of my friends who were very sporting, it never happened to any of them. And do you have any theories as to why it happens today?
No, there's lots of medical opinion divided on exactly, and it's very difficult to pin it down to any single cause. But maybe it had been more prevalent than we were aware of. But maybe just because someone like Cormac, who's a high-profile player, and John McCall, a rugby player at the same time, brought it very much to light that it was happening. And I think it does happen a lot more often than we are aware of. And I suppose the good thing about that is that because someone like Cormac, we don't think that any young man like that losing his life, there can be any good in it. But there is a lot of good has come out of it because there's a greater awareness now. The Cormac Trust is in place where they have facilitated every club in Tyrone with the defibrillators, and there's an awareness that this can happen, and people, you know, out of all adversity, good can come, and a lot of good has come out of Cormac's death.
Now, I noticed that you're wearing a pioneer pin. You've been a pioneer all your life. How do you react when the people kind of give it a good lash after an All-Ireland win?
Well, I mean, you know, us pioneers are not anti-alcohol, we're anti the abuse of it. So, you know, as long as people take it with some degree of caution, and I suppose on an occasion when people win in Ireland or achieve something great, we have to realise that these things will happen. But, you know, we respect people who can take a drink and appreciate it, and sometimes people take a little bit too much, and that's a fact of life as well.
But all is forgiven on last Monday morning when the fellas might have had sore heads slightly.
Without a doubt. I think the players are very mature nowadays. Yeah. They're top-class athletes.
And they don't get to Croke Park for an All-Ireland final if they have been abusing alcohol during the year. It just doesn't happen.
Without a doubt. without a doubt.
Are you tough on players if players late for training, if a player misses training? Are you?
No, the standard practice is there now. We don't have to enforce anything. Players know that if your training starts at 7:30, that you're there from about 10 to 7 to be ready to begin at 7:30. The session starts at 7:30 with or without you. And players don't like not to be there at the start because it's very noticeable. They've got that standard for themselves. So it isn't something that has to be imposed as a discipline from within. And it's there and they've grown up with it. And that's what makes them the players and athletes that they are.
All right. Now, next year, I bet you're already thinking about it, are you?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, we have to. I mean, we won it in 03, we won it in 05. We didn't back it up with a good season after it. Now, there were mitigating circumstances, obviously the death of Cormac and a lot of injuries after 05. But with the help of God, there won't be any such things to deal with this time. And that being the case, we ought to do our very best to do a bit better than we did before.
And what about you, Michaela? Have you got a man in your life at the moment?
I do. I do indeed.
Is he interested in football as much as you are?
He's definitely interested in football. He would have to be now to be any man of mine.
Yeah, does he play?
He does play, but I'm not going to say any more now because I'll get in trouble when I go back.
Yeah, he doesn't play for Tyrone then,
Not Tyrone, no.
Ooh.
Went a bit further afield.
Did you? Still north of the border?
Still in the north of the country, yeah.
All right, so, but it's not likely that they'll end up meeting Tyrone.
Well, that's a tough one now, actually, yeah. He's from County Down, and we end up meeting each other, the two counties this year. So there's a wee bit of tension for a period, but...
Divided loyalties
that's
in the Harte household.
There's only one team for me.
All right.
No
look,
divided loyalties from Michaela.
Can I say congratulations once again to you, Mickey, and Michaela. You were as much part of it, I think, all the way along. And thanks very much for bringing Sam in to say hello.
You're very welcome.
Congratulations.